Welcome to the another lecture, that is excretion and osmoregulation. Today we are going to discuss about the excretion and osmoregulation, that is chapter number 15 from your textbook. Okay. First we will discuss about what is excretion and what is osmoregulation. Okay, excretion is referred as elimination of nitrogenous waste product. Okay, so it is separation, collection, and elimination of nitrogenous waste product is known as excretion. Okay, then what is osmoregulation? Osmoregulation is a regulation of water and salt balance in the body is known as osmoregulation. So it is basically regulation of water salt concentration inside your body. Okay, so there is one more that is definition you will come across, that is called as defecation. Defecation is removal of undigested waste product. So there is a difference between excretion and there is a difference between defecation. Excretion is elimination of nitrogenous waste product, whereas defecation is elimination of undigested waste product. So nitrogenous products are often a product of metabolism. So you will come across the first three terminology, that is excretion, osmoregulation, and egestion or defecation. Okay. Now we will discuss about the introduction of that excretion and osmoregulation. So whenever we talk about that is metabolism. So what is metabolism? Metabolism is sum of all the chemical reaction that is taking place in the body of a living organism is known as metabolism. Okay, so the metabolism are going to involve two process. One is called as catabolism, another is called as anabolism. So anabolism is basically synthesis and catabolism is breakdown process. So metabolism is going to include two process. One is called as anabolism, another is called as catabolism. So during the metabolism, the various byproduct, various nitrogenous waste product, okay, are produced. So these are referred as metabolic waste product. Now these waste product can be in the form of various uh, they can be in the form of fluid, or they can be in the form of gaseous nature, or they can be organic or inorganic. Okay, so during the digestion, what happens? The proteins are broken down into amino acids, fats are broken down into fatty acid plus glycerol, carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. Okay, so they are undergoing catabolism to release energy, because ultimate aim of the catabolism is to release the energy. So during this process, there are certain byproduct are formed. Okay, so these byproduct can be useful, or some of the byproduct are not useful. Right. So those byproduct which are harmful, they have to eliminated by the body. Okay, so whatever excess of carbohydrate and fats are there, that can be stored, but amino acid that is used to make new protein that body needs, right? But excess of amino acid cannot be stored in the body. So the extra amino acid are used to produce energy or converted to carbohydrate and fats. So amino acid will undergo a process called as deamination. What is deamination? Deamination is removal of amino group from the amino acid. Now that amino group is going to form nitrogenous waste in the body. So that deamination takes place within your liver. Okay, so that amino group is ultimately converted into ammonia. Now that ammonia is very toxic. Okay, this cannot be stored in the body. So either it can be readily eliminated, okay, by some organism, or that may be converted into less toxic form like urea and uric acid, and then it is eliminated from the body. Okay, so nitrogen waste can come from either by deamination or breakdown of body's own protein and nucleic acid. And catabolism waste such as carbon dioxide, water, right? Nitrogenous waste, carbon dioxide and water is lost through the lungs. Okay, there are certain pigment which can be formed after breakdown of the hemoglobin. So can you remember the hemoglobin is ultimately broken down into bilirubin and biliverdin. So these pigments are thrown along with the fecal matter. Yes. Then there are certain volatile waste that is removed by the lungs. So these volatile waste can be that can be present in the spices. So that is eliminated by the lungs. Okay. Excess of salt, some amount of urea is also lost by your skin. So your skin can be also excretory organ, but the major excretory organ in your body is kidney. So look at the introduction. So first, what is metabolism? So metabolism is referred as the sum of all the that is reaction which is taking place in your body. So the metabolism has got two processes. One is called as anabolism, that is building up process or synthesis. Another is called as catabolism. Catabolism is breakdown process. So during the digestion, what happens? Protein get digested into amino acids, fats convert into fatty acid and glycerol, carbohydrates are converted into glucose. Okay, so all these reaction will occur in order to release the energy. So all these simple molecule, they can undergo metabolism to release the energy. So during this process, carbon dioxide and waters are that is released. Excess of carbohydrate and fat can be stored. Acids are used to make new protein that body needs, but excess cannot be stored. So extra amino acid are used to produce energy or converted to carbohydrate and fats. But in order to convert into carbohydrate and fats, that amino group has to removed. Okay, so that amino group is removed by a process called as deamination. Now you can see that amino group has to remove from the amino acid before it enter into the Krebs cycle, because after deamination it is going to form various intermediates of the Krebs cycle, and Krebs cycle operates in mitochondria. Okay, now these amino group form a major nitrogenous waste of the body. That means if you consume more amount of protein than your body needs, these excess of protein will ultimately converted into amino group, and these amino group will be converted into ammonia. Okay, so what is the source of nitrogenous waste? Nitrogenous waste can be come from either directly from the protein or from nitrogen base. Okay, nitrogen base are present within the nucleic acid. So nitrogen waste come from the two sources, deamination and breakdown of body's own protein and nucleic acid, that is DNA and RNA. Now that ammonia is highly toxic, so some organism they can immediately remove the ammonia from the body, but there are certain organisms they are going to convert that ammonia into the less toxic product such as urea and uric acid. Okay, so they become less toxic and then later on they can be eliminated. Okay, so catabolism produces the waste like carbon dioxide, water, which can be eliminated via lungs. Nitrogenous waste can be eliminated by the kidney mostly and the skin. Then bile pigment can be eliminated along with the fecal matter. Then there are excess of inorganic salt, hormones, vitamins are also considered as waste. So these waste can be considered as either a volatile or non-volatile waste. So animal can be broadly classified into three type, that is into three type, based on what type of nitrogenous waste they removed, right? So ammonia is a basic product. That ammonia is formed after deamination, right? But it is highly toxic, so it has to diluted immediately if there is no or limited access to the water. So it need to convert into there should be a conversion of ammonia. Okay, that become very necessary. So availability of the water plays very important role in deciding the mode of excretion. So animal can either excrete ammonia directly, or they can convert into urea, or they will eliminate the urea which is, or they can be eliminate uric acid. So based on what type of nitrogenous waste product they excrete, the animal can be classified into ammonotelic, ureotelic, and uricotelic. Okay, so you can see over here the first phenomena that we are going to discuss is ammonotelism. So what is ammonotelism? Ammonotelism is a phenomena where animals are going to excrete nitrogenous waste product in the form of ammonia. Okay, so animals are said to be ammonotelic. The animals are said to be ammonotelic. Okay, so which animals are generally ammonotelic? The tadpole of the frog. Can you see? This is a tadpole of the frog which is ammonotelic. Then there are bony fish. Okay, these bony fish are mostly ammonotelic. If you observe these animals are always surrounded by water. All right. So ammonia is highly toxic. It cannot be stored in the body for longer duration, and even ammonia is highly soluble in water. So as soon as ammonia is formed in the body, it has to eliminate out. So that elimination occurs with the help of large quantity of water. So what is ammonotelism? Ammonotelism is a phenomena where the animals are going to excrete ammonia. Okay, so ammonia is formed where in a liver by a process called as deamination. Ammonia is highly toxic, highly soluble in nature. So since it is highly toxic, as soon as it is formed in the body, it has to eliminate out. So it is eliminated out by a process called as diffusion. For elimination of 1 gram of ammonia, very large quantity of water is required, which is approximately 300 to 500 ml. Okay, so ammonotelism can be exhibited by aquatic invertebrate, by bony fish, then larval stages of the amphibians. Okay, even the animals without excretory system, for example amoeba, which is a protozoan, which can also excrete the ammonia. So ammonia is excreted, that is through the general body surface, gills or the kidney. So that is the first mode of excretion known as ammonotelism. So look at the points. Excretory product is called as ammonia. Animals are called as ammonotelic. Phenomena is known as ammonotelism. What is the phenomena? Ammonotelism, right? So it is formed by which process called as deamination. Deamination that occurs in liver, and deamination of amino acid result in the formation of ammonia. So toxicity, it is highly toxic. Solubility, it is highly soluble in water. So it has to remove immediately as soon as it is formed. So it is diffused across the body surface, gills and the kidney. For elimination of 1 gram of ammonia, how much amount of water is required? 300 to 500 ml of water is required. Okay, and these are the example: aquatic invertebrate, bony fish, tadpole, aquatic insect. So these all are going to exhibit the phenomena called ammonotelism. Coming to the next phenomena is known as ureotelism. So ureotelism is a phenomena where animals are going to excrete nitrogenous waste product in the form of urea. Okay, so when the animals are going to excrete the nitrogenous waste product in the form of urea, the animals are called as ureotelic. Phenomena is known as ureotelism. Now the urea is formed again in liver by the combination of ammonia and carbon dioxide. Okay, so there is a special cycle operates in the liver. That cycle is known as ornithine cycle, or it is also called as urea cycle, or it is also known as Krebs Haslet cycle. Okay, now these cycles is result in the production of urea. So water, so carbon dioxide plus ammonia, they are going to combine in the liver and they are going to form less toxic product known as urea. Okay, so the toxicity, it is very less, it is soluble in water. So for the removal of urea, approximately 50 ml of water is required. So ureotelism is exhibited by most of the terrestrial animal because very less amount of water is required, because terrestrial animal they have to conserve the water. So approximately 50 ml of water is required for elimination of 1 gram of urea. So uh, it is removed, urea is removed in the form of urine. So which organism is going to exhibit the ureotelism? So you can see there is frog. Okay, then you can see there is shark. Shark is also going to exhibit the phenomena called as ureotelism. You know, shark is going to retain the more urea in their body. Okay, so uh, so their body fluid to make their blood isotonic to the surrounding marine water. So that will help them, uh, or it is going to prevent a possible loss of water by exosmosis. So shark is going to retain the urea in the body, okay, or TMO, trimethyl oxide in the body, so that its body fluid become isotonic with the surrounding medium, and there is no loss of water from the shark body because of exosmosis. Okay, then turtle is also going to exhibit, even this is a cartilaginous fish, it is also going to exhibit the phenomena called as ureotelism, and the turtle is also going to show the phenomena called as ureotelism. So these are the example of ureotelism. Okay, again look at the points. Excretory product is urea. Animals are ureotelic. Phenomena is known as ureotelism. All right. So it is formed by a urea cycle. Urea cycle operates in the liver. What is another name for the urea cycle is ornithine cycle. It is also known as Krebs-Hanslett cycle because it was discovered by the two scientists, Krebs and Hanslett. So therefore, it is also known as Krebs-Hanslett cycle. Then that urea cycle operates in the liver. Okay. So in the hepatocytes, okay, the two organelles are involved. One is cytosol, another is the mitochondria. Okay. So urea is formed by the fusion of ammonia and carbon dioxide. Okay. So toxicity is very less toxic. Solubility, it is soluble in water. For elimination of 1 gram of urea, approximately 50 ml of water is required. It is removed in the form of urine from the body, right? So water required for the elimination is 50 ml. Then examples, frog, toad, mammals, all the mammals, okay, even if it is desert mammal like camel, it is also going to exhibit the phenomena called as ureotelism. Then cartilaginous fish, okay, those who are having the cartilaginous endoskeleton such as shark, okay, turtles and alligators, they are also going to show the phenomena called as ureotelism. Hmm? Coming to the third phenomena, that is called as uricotelism. Okay, so uricotelism is a phenomena where animals are going to excrete the nitrogenous waste product in the form of uric acid. The animals are called as uricotelic. Phenomena is called as uricotelism. Now that uric acid is formed by a process called as ionosinic pathway. Again, this ionosinic acid pathway that occurs in the liver. Okay, so what is the site for the ionosinic pathway is liver. So elimination of nitrogenous waste product in the form of uric acid, the phenomena is called as uricotelism. Animals are called as uricotelic animal, right? So it is formed by which process called as ionosinic pathway or ionosinic acid pathway, which occurs in case of the liver. The toxicity, it is very less toxic, it is insoluble in water, but for the elimination water is required. For the elimination of 1 gram of uh, uric acid, approximately 5 to 10 ml of water is required. So very least amount of water is required, or there is no water is required almost for the elimination. So these animals can conserve more amount of water. Okay, so this is one of the adaptation for conserving the water, right? So example can be this. Can you see? This is the snake. They can show the uricotelism. Then you can see the birds. They are going to exhibit the uricotelism. All right. Then there is woodlouse. Can you see in the diagram? That is also going to exhibit the uricotelism. And garden snail, that is also going to garden snail, that is also going to show the phenomena called as uricotelism. So look at the points. The X-ray product are uric acid. Animal is called as uricotelic. Phenomena is called as uricotelism. Okay, formed by a cyanogenic acid pathway, which occurs in case of the liver. Okay, toxicity is very less toxic. Solubility is insoluble in water. Since it is insoluble in water, they are eliminated, or that nitrogenous waste product is eliminated in the form of thick pellet or paste. So removal in the form of thick pellet or paste. Water required for the elimination of 1 gram of uric acid is 5 to 10 ml. Examples are these land snails, land reptile like lizard, snakes, then birds, terrestrial insect, land crustacean, woodlouse, you can see. So these are the example of uricotelism. Okay. Even uricotelism, that is uric acid. Uric acid is also produced in lesser quantity by the human body as well. Okay, so sometimes there can be a defective metabolism. All right, sometimes there can be a defective metabolism that result in the accumulation of uric acid crystal in the joint, and that is going to cause pain in the joint, which is called as gout or gouty arthritis. So in mammals, some amount of uric acid is formed by the breakdown of purine and pyrimidine, right? So if there is abnormal uric acid metabolism, right, so that can result in the accumulation of uric acid in the joint, and that result in a disease called as gout. So you can see this is the symptoms of the gout. So there will be swelling in the joint, there is a pain in the joint. Okay, that is because of accumulation of uric acid crystal. Okay. Now you will come across one more phenomena. That phenomena is called as guanotelism. So what is guanotelism? There are certain animal, they are going to excrete the nitrogenous waste product in the form of guanine. Okay, there are certain organism like penguins, arachnids. Arachnids are going to include spiders and scorpions. All right, they are going to eliminate the nitrogenous waste product in the form of guanine. Okay, so these are referred as gonotelic animal. So they it is that gonotelic animals, it is less soluble than the uric acid, and hence it required almost no water for elimination. Okay, so the phenomena is called as gonotelism. So you can see the examples are penguins, spiders, and scorpions. So these are the example of gonotelism. So far, we have studied the 4 phenomena, that is called as ammonotelism, ureotelism, uricotelism, and now gonotelism. You know, but there are certain organisms, they can show the dual excretion. For example, earthworm, then there is African toad and lungfish. They are ammonotelic in rainwater. They are ammonotelic in the rainy season, we can say, but they are ureotelic in the soil. That means whenever they are in the rain, they are going to exhibit the ammonotelism, but whenever they are in the soil, they are going to exhibit the ureotelism. Okay, the crocodile is ammonotelic in water, but it is uricotelic outside. So that phenomena is known as dual excretion. So even there are certain organisms which can show the two type of or two mode of excretion. So that is known as dual excretion. Okay, you can see earthworm, lungfish, African toad, it is ammonotelic in the rainwater, but ureotelic in soil. Crocodile, it is ammonotelic in water and uricotelic outside. Okay, so this is all about the phenomena which is exhibited by the different organism. Hmm? So look at this comparative table. So the first point is mode of excretion. So it can be ammonotelism, ureotelism, and uricotelism. So you have to remember what is excretory product. It is formed by which process, and all the process that occurs in liver. Then you have to remember the solubility in water. All right. So you can see the ammonia is formed by a process deamination. Then urea is formed by ornithine cycle or Krebs-Haslet cycle or urea cycle in the liver. Inosinic pathway again occurs in liver. Then coming to the solubility, for the ammonia is highly soluble, urea is less soluble, and uric acid is insoluble. Toxicity, highly toxic, less toxic, and less toxic. So what amount of water required for elimination of 1 gram? Ammonia required 300 to 500 ml. Then urea required 50 ml of water, and uric acid required 5 to 10 ml of water. Okay. So how it is excreted? Ammonia is excreted by a process called as diffusion because it is soluble in water. Urea is excreted in the form of urine, whereas uric acid is excreted in the form of thick pellet or the pest. Organisms are known as monotelic, ureotelic, uricotelic, and these are the examples what we have studied. Okay, so this is all about the mode of excretion which is exhibited by different organism, and these are the different phenomena, that is ammonotelism, ureotelism, and uricotelism.